Instagram that are gonna hop over here. Well, hello
Cool.
everyone. Welcome to the round table. I was gonna push live a few minutes ago, so you could all listen to us talking about random crap because that's probably the best content you'll get all day. But nice to have Cartel and of course Ryan and Nick here joining us on Sunday. We had a really fun episode planned, and then we decided we were going to wait a couple weeks for that so we could have everybody here. But I think today as Ryan and I were talking a few days ago, we're going to really focus on nostalgia and just how our childhood, collecting habits and those memories have led us down the path that we're at now. I know Nick has talked a lot about how his dad's collecting style has really affected him and how he collects now. Cartel and Ryan and myself, we all have these childhood memories of how we collected, and I know for me, that's why I play or collect still. Really, really has led me down the path of doing what I do now with my hockey collection. But I mean, I guess I wanted to start, just go whoever wants to talk. I mean, what are some of your earliest memories of collecting? I think it's fun to hear those because if you look at your collections now and just think about these massive collections we have now and all the knowledge we've amassed over the years, like back then it was just like, wide-eyed, fresh eyes on the hockey card market. Like, who's got a memory to throw out there?
Well, I say 88, 89 for me is definitely where I started. 87, 87, 88 OPG and 88, 89 OPG were definitely, the thumbtack is always, sits with me well, the thumbtack design in 88, 89. And of course, always 90, 91. 90, 91 was huge for like a lot of kids or a lot of people my age now, right? Being in our 40s now. So it was Upper Deck and LPG Premier for me, so.
I can say much the same. Yeah, I mean, in '89, that was kind of when, I don't know, like I don't know how everyone kind of feels about going into their data banks, but I always have trouble accessing memories from too far back. But you get to around 7, 8, 9 years old, and you start to kind of become more conscious.
Yeah.
And I know my first ever set I collected, which I was getting at the convenience store, was 87, 88, but it was 88, 89, where you become a bit more like, I am collecting cards and I am looking for this Brett Hull. And when I get it, I'm going to put it in this gigantic lucite slab that's $10 at the store. And I'm going to press it in there. The 89 Griffey. And then like Ryan said, 90, 91 was like when you suddenly have people around you talking about investing and the market. I remember that, I remember I opened when Score came out, and I bought, my dad bought me a few packs. I pulled the Lindros in the first pack, and the store owner, I can't remember what he offered me, but he put like cash on the table, and it made me and my dad uncomfortable, and we just like left. But you suddenly start to realize, like, I like this card because I like hockey, but like other people want these cards now. So that was kind of like almost like the crystallization of knowing that what you're doing is also, in demand beyond what you're collecting. But that's
going monetary value, right?
Yeah, that's going really far back because that back then you're just collecting, you're tossing cards around. I mean, in that same mall, when I was busy buying the 90-91 Score, Upper Deck, and Premier, upstairs was a very fancy coin and stamp store. Ooh. And they all of a sudden started stocking cards. And when you went to the back, that was their card room. And they had a wall of every set that had been released at that point. Now, it's all stored in my head. I remember seeing the 85, 86 set was $60, I think. The 84, 85 set was $40. And I remember saying to my dad, that was under 50, so can I get that one? And I got the 84, 85 set. Now, I molested that set. I put the cards up on the wall and threw things at them. Obviously, I pulled out Yzerman, Gilmore, and LaFontaine first and foremost. Later on, Andreychuk would become a big deal.
Chelios, Neely.
So by destroying that set, one of my first collector goals when I was older was I had to rebuild the set, which I did. And so that has so many memories for me. It was purchased by my dad for me. B, it's just amazing. And when you got it at the time, it was like 1984. My God, you might as well have been buying something from the 50s.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
Wow.
That was a great set. Yeah, he had about 7 or 8 Hall of Famers in there. For me, it was really the parallel boom. These like the 92, 93, 93, 94 Topps Gold. This is the kind of stuff I really remember as a kid. Especially, I don't know, something about this 92, 93 Topps Gold is really the one. My dad had stuff everywhere. You know, we all know that. I was born in 87. So like you guys were saying, you know, Cartel about the 7, 8, 9 thing. So right around the mid 90s is right when that parallel boom started. And I really have a lot of memories of that stuff. And my dad was always chasing these parallel sets, you know, and piecing them together. And I just remember rummaging through them in his room when he wasn't home. Yeah, that came back to bite me because I got a few ding corners now on the cards that I got 20 years later. But I would say these parallels, I don't know, there's just something about those 92, 93 Topps Gold too. I don't know what it is. I don't know if it's because it was the first parallel, but I have fond memories of that, you know, from when I was a kid.
Right. Man, I don't know about you guys too, but as soon as I say this set, you're all going to be like, oh yeah, 90, 91 Upper Deck, dude. That was where it was at. I know my dad, he's actually in here listening right now. Like, I remember him buying me the John Casey card, and that was it right there. It was done. I was a goaltender collector from that card on. I think I remember buying packs of that with him at the store and pulling those hologram cards. You guys remember those? You know, they weren't expensive, but I remember pulling a Gretzky, and we were in the car, and we were freaking out. And I think from that point on, just going to card shops and looking at all those early 90s inserts. I put a post up on Instagram a little bit ago with those Painted Warriors, the first time they did that insert set.
Yeah.
And I can't believe that it even existed, but when I lived in Soldotna, Alaska, there was one card shop, and I remember buying the whole set of that for like $10. And I remember my grandpa went with me, and he bought it for me, and I just remember like that was always really cool to just be a goaltender collector in general. And then, you know, that same year, my dad bought me some just random goalie cards, and there was a Jocelyn Thibault Pinnacle from 93, 94 with the black border. And, yeah, man, after that, it was all player collector from there. So, yeah, those are some of my earliest memories. But that Upper Deck set, man, I remember the Paul Kariya rookie from the year after, the Michael Renberg rookie. Like, I remember just some of those cards just always sticking with me. But that, like, Patrick Waugh, the mask shot from 90, 91 Upper Deck, that card too, just like the profile shots of goalies. I think ever since that.
Those early rookies are iconic. Like the Solani rookie, I can see it in my head. I mean,
yeah, the 91,
the entire card.
Yeah, that set definitely hasn't gotten the love that it should, I think. 90-91 does, and then of course
those
when
first 3 years, man, that was great.
They are the best. Yeah, 90 to 93 is definitely those really great sets. And also too, you got to remember 90-91 Upper Deck when the High Series came out. That was like it was like gangbusters, right? Because they had the Fedorov and the Bure in there, and
the young guns.
Yeah, and then and exactly, and then you also had for us guys in the GTA, Greater Toronto area, you had Felix Potvin's rookie in there, and later on, like 92, 93. Yeah, and then so that became a huge rookie card too, right? Mm-hmm. And it was a good set. There's I think Niedermayer's rookies in that.
Cujo, Richter, Mark Recchi. Yeah. I mean, the list doesn't end in 99.
Yeah.
It's ridiculous.
Yeah, they definitely.
Wasn't it around the same time that Premier had come out? It was shortly after Premier that the high number came out, and then hockey was just booming because now you're chasing multiple Fedorovs. You're trying to get the only Bure, the only Potvin as well, and everything was just booming. And just another layer on the 90-91 Upper Deck. Just the packs were so unique at the time. Yeah.
Foil,
black foil. The score was like made it out of the world's cheapest plastic.
Yeah, they opened really easy.
We were used to opening wax, and then all of a sudden it was kind of like this paper foil for the 90-91, and it was awesome. It was like part of the addiction of ripping open those packs. It was
very thick, right? Like I can like almost. Yeah. Feel it opening. It was like tearing tinfoil in half. Yeah,
very different.
You know, another set too is you said Potvin's rookie, and my dad will remember this one. The 91, 92 Pinnacle where you had the small picture and then the bigger picture, or is it 92, 93? I'm trying to think. You got the Pinnacle with the two 92, different pictures. 93. Yeah,
I think.
Felix had a card in there. It was like a green background, and I remember that set being a really big deal. I think my dad loved that set.
This was 91, 92.
That one right there.
Yeah.
That's it. Yep.
Yeah, that's a
92.
very nice looking set.
Yep. So Felix has a card in that set, and I remember his face looking like he was like 19, 18 years old, and I'm like, okay, this is cool. These younger guys, because hockey was a very, you look at some of the players, Lanny McDonald. I mean, he was probably like 50 years old when he was playing, for crying out loud. But a lot of the players look very old, so you had these young guys starting Bure, Potvin, Jocelyn Thibault, like these guys coming in that were Yager.
Yeah.
Fedorov, they were very, very young. And then later, like Paul Kariya, Timmy Solani, Matt Sundin, like all very young players coming in. And I remember
that was like the Europeans taking over, really, too.
Yeah.
Right around then.
Well,
sure.
Sundin was taken first overall. He's the first league to be taken first overall, right? And
that team.
He's another one that's in 90-91 too, though.
Yeah, you're right.
There's a lot of
Gilnley. It never ends.
Yeah, exactly.
Jeremy Roenick, Mike Modano.
Roenick.
Ed Belfour.
There's another one.
Gosh, I mean,
90-91's ridiculous.
Brodeur's in 90-91.
Yeah, Brodeur.
Ross.
Day.
Yeah, like when you think of the players that could have been MVP Premier, it's wild. Like that set could have been so much different if they just had Brodeur, Lindros, and say maybe Belfour. Yeah, and Bure. That's the other one too.
You know what a great idea is in this era of. By the way, I just realized. I just remembered, and I'll touch on this again. Last night I opened a box of 91-92 Parkhurst High Series. I barely remembered it. I was maybe a little out of sorts, but I'm looking at it. I was pursuing the Hasek, which is going for over $300 US in a PSA 10. So I know you get 2 or 3 in a box. And guess what? The one corner of the box that was smashed, that was the row that had the Haseks.
Nice.
Naturally.
But I pulled some really nice Keith Kachuk. That being said, the other thing about this whole era. So I was watching a live. I don't know if you guys know the P. Ryan collection. I'm sure Ryan does.
Yeah, I've jumped onto his page.
Yeah, he's always doing these lives, and it's full of all sorts of interesting stuff. And he mentioned this idea in this era of slabs and everything being incredibly expensive. And I was mentioning to you guys in our chat the Marty Brodeur has really exploded now, the 90-91 score, and I think along with it, as a result, everything else is going to kind of bump up, but. You can still source the raw copies of all these cards we're talking about, 90-91, 91-92, Solani. You can get these for a couple bucks. Yep. And he came up with this concept that all those nostalgic cards, you could collect those and put them in like 9-pocket sheets and create a binder of all those key rookie cards without having to worry about, the condition or the grade. And just imagine flipping through. Okay, here's all the upper deck, Belfour, Bure, Potvin, and then 91-92 Solani. I think that's actually a great idea, and I'm thinking of doing that, just getting away from the slab craziness,
Yeah, you know what? That's why I appreciate those cards too, because like you said, you can pick up these Hall of Fame players for a couple bucks. I mean, and they're great iconic cards too. And like you said, if they're a little dinged up, you're not going to lose sleep over it.
Yeah.
It's not like it's your, Wayne Gretzky rookie or something. It is what it is at that rate. And that's what's great about that stuff. Like you said, so many Hall of Famers.
Yeah. Right. And I think, too, with all this stuff that's going on with the Slab Mania and all these people preserving this stuff, you got to start thinking of, like, how much of supply is going to be out there in the next couple of years, because how much of it's been graded since that time? Because PSA has been around since, 1990, roughly? So through the years, I've graded Brodeur rookie cards, I've graded Lindros rookie cards, I've graded all that 90-91 stuff. I mean, damn, I'm trying to build an entire set in PSA 10 for the premiere. So how much of this stuff is out there that's being graded, and how much in 15, 20 years is going to be out there that's graded? It's going to be diluted, because once PSA starts that backlog, like once they hit that in the next couple of years, they start filtering it, because it's going to be busy for a while. You're going to have a ton of this stuff out there, and it's going to be even worse. Now it's going to be all graded. Before it was all in boxes. Now it's all going to be out there graded. You know what I mean? Like, I can still buy 90-91 Upper Deck. I have 4 boxes of High Series sitting upstairs. I know where I can get 91-92. I know where I can get any of that stuff. Like, how much of it's going to be out there? You got to ask that question, right? So
That's a good point, man. You just don't know. I mean, because the popularity is just going this way. Like there's no like steady incline that's like this right now.
I mean,
people are looking to park their money in other places, right? People got so weary of the stock market back in March of last year in 2020 because it plummeted by what 25 to 40%. Some of they shaved that much off of companies, some of their wealth. You know what I mean? Like their capital was gone, poof. And it's roared back now. But people said, "Whoa, like we need another investment area, another place to park our money." So it's interesting, but it's not going to last. I can tell you that right now. It's going to keep going strong, but it will not last like this. This is ridiculous.
Well, beyond whether or not there's a bubble in terms of the overall market. I like the conversation on the grading because I'm often taking a stance that people aren't, which is that. Okay, like let's just for example take a look at some of the score rookies. If you look at the populations right now, they're actually, if you specifically want a gem mint card, right? And that's a specific kind of collector or investor. Yep. If you want that, you're dealing with less than 500 of Marty and Eric. So those are like the two key scorecards.
Now, is that Canadian and American? Sorry, is that Canadian?
I've combined. Okay, that's actually a good point. I'm very familiar with the specific individual numbers. So combining PSA and BGS.
Right.
I'll tell you this. Canadian, American, PSA, BGS, there's less than 1,000 of each. Huh, that's very little. When you think about, Future Watch autograph, there's 999. If you think of it that way. There's very few right now, but you're right. What is sitting in the PSA backlog right now?
Yep.
But what I'm pointing out, and I'm saying this not to criticize new collectors. I'm saying this because this is what I'm seeing, like on Instagram, when I'm flipping through people's reveals and that sort of thing. Now, Ryan, I'm sure you have a system. When you send something out, you don't just grab a card and you go, "Oh, it's my buddy told me it's worth something. I'm going to send it out."
Yeah.
you look at it, right? Because I'm not interested in a PSA 6 modern card. I'm not. I'm barely interested in a PSA 9 modern card.
Yeah.
To be honest, and so what I'm seeing is people are they're brand new to the hobby. They don't really know what they're looking at.
Yeah.
So with a product so condition sensitive as Score, they're just like, I'm getting these texts from my friends like, "Yo, man, I got 5 Lindrosses. I'm sending them all in." And just even from the picture he sent me, I'm looking at them. I'm like, "Dude, you're about to get a bunch of 8s." Yeah. So I'm not convinced that, yes, there will be more slabs, guaranteed. Yeah. I mean, on my podcast, we spoke to the CEO of HGA. And that's a company that's getting a little bit of hype right now. Whether or not a company can break into the market, I'm actually not too sure, but they're going for it. And he talked about how his collecting group was sending in like 4,000 to 5,000 cards like every couple months. Like, just dude, think of the volume, think of the amount of plastic, the sea of slabs.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
But I'm not convinced that the majority of people sending them in right now are not. They're not good at what they're doing.
No, they don't. They're jumping into the market, like you said. They don't know what they're doing. They don't, because they look at prices and they get a dollar fixation. Yep. They get that dollar sign in their eyes, and all they see is dollars. And they're like, "I have that card. I know I have 4 of those cards or 10 sitting upstairs, right?" And, and they're like, "I got to get this in. I got to get this in." But they don't have any clue. They look at it quickly and go, "Yeah, that looks good." And they're probably looking at the corners, because
centering.
Yeah, even as a kid, I didn't know what centering was. Did I know what centering was? Not really. Did I know what image and focus was? Picture quality, that's a big one. Printing. Sure. A lot of people look at stuff that's like a PSA 8 and they're like, "This is bullshit. How's this a PSA 8? And it's like, well, the picture on there has either print lines in it or it's out of focus. Yeah, it's centered and it's got 4 sharp corners and the edges are good, but there's a lot to look at when you're looking at a card, right? So it's hard to say, and you're exactly right, Cartel, that people don't know what they're doing. It's like jumping into investing in the stock market and buying stocks on a whim, and you have no clue what's going on. You know what I mean? Like, that's what these people are doing. And it just happens that they happen to have them in their closet, a lot of this, inventory of theirs, right? So
well,
it's bizarre.
Too, and I feel like I'm an educated collector, but when it comes to slabs and stuff, you guys saw in the chat, I know nothing. That's why I'm trying to, get, advice from you guys. And like I said, that's just a whole nother ball game too. You can know a lot about hockey cards, baseball cards, and whatnot. But like you said, the grading, that's a whole nother game. Because I'll first one to admit, man, I am a rookie. I've been picking all your guys' brains, seeing what I can grab myself. But yeah, it's definitely a completely another ball of wax there.
But when you say that, you also have a huge advantage because you know about collecting. And when you know about collecting, you'll know about condition sensitive issues. That's a huge one when you go to grade. What is condition sensitive? Because there are sets out there like are really bad and very hard to gem in. So that's the big step you have. Now the grading is not too bad. Grading, you know, once you get used to it, it's like anything else. It's just getting your foot in the door because it's a whole other universe. It takes on collecting to a whole other extreme. You know what I mean?
I always remind people that like there's a reason why there are these gigantic multipliers on a PSA 10, especially in the realm of what people will call quote unquote junk wax. Yeah, a lot was made, but not many were made in the type of condition that would justify a gem mint grade, and that's why they are expensive. So the reality is, for the last 5-10 years, we've been dragging our feet because we could have been picking up PSA 10s of Jager, Sundin for dirt cheap. They were out there in slabs cheap where people weren't realizing just how difficult they were to find. And now what's happening is my buddies text me, they see my Instagram, they see cards, and they're like, yo man, I have 20 of that card you just posted. I'm rich. And I'm like, well, the one I posted is in this fancy piece of plastic that cost me money and time. Yours were in your closet for the last, they're not worth that amount. Unless you can find ones that are in really nice shape. And so I think a lot of people are going to be getting back lower grades. Combine that with the fact that you're hearing rumors that PSA and BGS are getting a little tougher, a little bit of population control. I still don't know if that's 100% verified or not, but we're not going to be seeing like a flood of PSA 10 Premier Jagers or Score Brodeurs, I don't think.
It's true, but you also have trickle-down effect to the other grades, right? All this nostalgic wax that we used to have, right? So for us as the older guys here, I remember when the Lemieux rookie was going strong in the mid to late 80s and all that. Now you're seeing, try buy a PSA 8 right now. You know, what's the trickle-down effect going to happen? It probably won't happen in the junk wax era. Like 91, I always consider 90 to 93 in hockey as the junk wax for hockey only. That's like the big production time. So I don't think you'll see like a PSA 9 Solani go for, $150, but I could be wrong. I'm just speculating, So, I don't know. It depends. Let's see. It's interesting.
I feel like one thing that Nick had an advantage of too, with messaging all of us. I mean, I don't know much about grading other than there's more to a card than its corners and centering. Is that Nick had the resource of guys like Cartel and you, Ryan, and Vinny, and all these people who have graded before, so you could make the right decision, Nick, with which cards you were going to send, how you should do it. I mean, you've had advice along the entire process. I think people are very naive and they don't reach out to plenty of us that would be happy to help.
You got to know what you don't know.
But
man, like I said,
Nick sent in some really nice cards. If those come back a PSA 7 or a 6, or God forbid they come back an 8 or 9, Jesus.
Like Cartel said, anything modern, I don't even want to mess with anything. But back in that era, I mean, it's a much different story. But those 5, I felt I had to get graded. I have to have.
You're preserving those too. You're preserving them. You're a preservationist on that.
Those looked really good. In as much of a look I could get at with a picture. But I mean, at this point, I mean, here's a free bit of advice for everyone. If we're talking about cards like these key, golden era cards like Lemieux and Waugh, you know what? Send it in regardless of what the condition is.
Exactly.
They're not only are we seeing like Ryan said 6 and up, but I'm giving you guys I'm giving you the heads up right now about something funny that's going to be happening if it's not already happening, which is people are going to be trying to source for purposefully. They're going to be trying to source very low graded slabs, and this has been touched on by a few people already. I've noticed on Instagram, because the concept is, okay, I don't want to be dealing with paying the money for 9 and 10, but if I want to put together, say, a set of 86, 87 where the key rookie cards are a 3, how many Mario Lemieux 3s are there? Not a lot, because people generally won't send it in if they feel that it's going to wind up with a 3. No. So that's going to be an interesting thing. How's that going to affect the market? Because maybe someone's going to overpay for a low-graded slab just because they don't exist. Right. I finally found
population one.
And I know Ryan makes fun of it, the eBay 1 of 1 and the population reports,
stupid.
But I'm telling you that you have to be aware of that because it may affect the rest of the slab market. So
People are weird, man. People are
if
weird.
you ever have an 80s rookie card, just send it in.
Yeah.
People are
Well,
weird.
that's
You don't know
not
what
bad
they're
advice.
gonna do.
It is like people are shifting their focus, and now things are changing like on a dime. People are turning left so quickly to collect something else or find some other niche in the hobby to exploit, and it's just interesting because it's opening up a lot of bizarre avenues. Like that is a weird. Like I don't want a 3 personally. That's why I went after all my 80s rookies back last year. I had to get that checklist done. I had to go after the majors and get them done because I had a feeling once this pandemic got going, I was like, this is not good. And my Lemieux that I bought, it's funny because what I paid for it, I found one in a PSA 1. It's the same price now. I was like, Jesus Christ, the trickle down effect is gone. Like it's ridiculous. And now people, you know what's going to be funny is the years that Topps made hockey cards in the 80s, people are turning their heads towards those because Lemieux has a rookie in Topps. Iserman has a rookie. You know, Hall.
I've always wondered about that. I've always wondered because I was just I was almost like trained as a kid coming up into collecting to avoid Topps.
Yeah,
it was like
Canadians.
You don't even discuss it. Don't even look at it. And I'm like, wait a minute, these are legitimate
the
cards.
Topps logo. You know?
Yeah, and like the Topps logo is, associated with some of the most expensive baseball cards on earth.
Yeah.
And basketball cards, by the way, like the Larry Bird, Magic Johnson. I'm like, wait a minute, maybe I shouldn't have been sleeping on that. That's definitely a deficit in my collecting, not only in terms of my collection, but talking about it and giving advice on it. I never thought about it.
I talked to a couple guys that they were buying Wayne Gretzky rookie cards, and I said, you know what? In my honest opinion, and I'm Canadian, I'm biased towards OPG because I'm Canadian, obviously, but I said go Topps. Topps doesn't have, or OPG have the symbol, their logo on the front of the card. So right there, you get rid of that.
Yep.
And the Topps is brighter. It's a better looking. It's a brighter, sharper card, better stock. You know, the OPG.
It's a better cardboard.
It is. It is totally better. So I've held both of them in my hand. I have both, and I look at them and go, I should sell my OPG. I'm there going, should I sell this now? But.
No, you're right about Topps because Topps, like I said, people have been sleeping on that for a while.
Yeah.
And there's a few years where it's the same. 85, 86, Mario, same thing. There's no logo on the front. The Iserman year, there's no logo on the front.
Yeah.
So you have
to back. It's only the back that gives it away.
Yeah. You turn it over and you can really see the color, especially like in the 85, 86, 84, 85 compared to Topps and OPG. The OPG just looks so much better. And I'm from outside Detroit, so we're like wannabe Canadians. So same thing with my dad. It was the same thing he always said. He had all the top sets. He had them all, but same thing. O-Pee-Chee was king. Yeah. That's just the way it was, and that's the way it always has been.
Yeah, and it's harder to get them in mint, right? So you really. But see, here's the funny thing: Topps only didn't make cards in 82, 83, and 83, 84. So those aren't key rookie years, really. Like Ron Francis in 82, 83.
Howard Chuck,
Joe
not many guys.
Yeah, so
Grant Fuhr.
Grant Fuhr. And Scott Stevens was in 83, 84. So, Phil Housley, I think, was in there.
Yeah, Phil Housley, too, yeah.
But here's a funny thing. Messier is not. I was actually looking at this. I was like, Messier does not have a Topps card. Ray Bork does.
I got a question about Messier, actually. He does not have a Topps card until like 86, 87. It's very strange. What is that? I'm really curious.
Contract dispute, probably.
Okay. Because he does not have a Topps card for, like I said, for 4 or 5 years. It's the strangest thing.
Yeah.
Because they'd be smaller sets, right? So sometimes
just
wouldn't fall.
But all the stars were in both except Messier.
Yes. But see, if you look at 80, 81 OPG, and they have Bork, they have Messier. So he, like Cartel said, he falls off. He's at 286 or 289 is his card number, and he falls off because he only made
165 or whatever it was. Yeah,
it was
196.
Yeah. So he's exactly right.
Does anyone have any? Sorry, go ahead.
No. I was just gonna say, like, Nick was saying how Pee-Chee and Topps. Like, I remember growing up, obviously in Alaska, so I'm as close to Canada as you could get. Pee-Chee had that it's better than Topps type thing to it. My dad always spoke of that set before Topps when we talk about cards.
Yeah.
Like, Pee-Chee this. And those were the ones to chase. So I
just sounds cool too. To be honest,
it does.
Yeah,
it really does.
Sounds cool. And the logo's awesome.
Yeah.
The logo's
Vinny,
classic.
welcome to the show. Thanks for coming so you could get us back on track. We started talking about.
I don't even know where we're at.
I know, like grading came up, and then Ryan's eyes got about this big,
and we got the tops.
Cartels, yeah, and but we were, Vinny, you can share your story here. I mean, I asked these guys right at the beginning of the show, what's one of your earliest collecting memories when you were a kid?
First memory was my three brothers and I, and my mom going to Cousin's Corner, which was one of the local shops, and buying 92, 93 Fleer Ultra, and I bought 5-packs, and I pulled 2 Lemieux in 5-packs, and then I went back later that day, and I pulled one of the inserts. I think it was the All-Star Lemieux, and I'm like, this is the greatest thing ever. So every couple of weeks we'd go back there, and then they had the show was the other card shop, Sam the Man, TLC, Teddy Louie and Cuz, and that was one of the later ones. Scott's Corner, that was one that I bought my first pack of Upper Deck, 1991. So those were the days, man. And then my brother's going to all the card shows.
That's something too that I'm very curious about. I grew up somewhere where there weren't really any card shows, but I mean, I'm assuming everybody here went to their fair share as a kid, but that's something that I didn't really get to experience ever growing up. And so going to the National 2 years ago was like, a culmination of the last 25 years of collecting for me. Off and on is like being able to experience that on a really big scale, and it was certainly overwhelming, but I think that is a big part of our childhood and collecting. But I mean, I kind of want to, since we kind of reached the halfway point, I am kind of curious, like, to this question. This is Ryan, you brought this up. You talked about, well, think about how you collect now. Don't think about the grading part of things. That's an adult decision. That is not the kid. That's not the kid in you making that decision. I mean, maybe it is. Maybe you can prove me wrong. But if you think about how you collected as a kid, I mean, how much of that affects how you collect now? I mean, I am very curious on that for all of you guys, because we all have a kid in us still. So, how much of a part does that play in how you collect?
I think that's why I'm doing my 90. Well, actually, that is why I'm doing the 9091 Premier set in PSA. Trying to do them all in PSA 10s, because I'm preserving that memory to me. I guess maybe subconsciously somewhere. Right. I have, I don't know, like 6 sets of it raw or more, probably a dozen. But I mean, I want it all preserved. So for me, it's nice to go back and collect that small set. It's 132 cards. Has major rookie cards in it, and those rookies are all, for my guys my age, like the Jagger, the Fedorov, the Sundin, all out of that set are all like some very big rookies, so, and they were very desired too, and that was probably the most expensive, and it's the set I had to choose between Upper Deck or Premier that year as a kid, right? I was 12 years old, so I had to make financial decisions even back then, right? What was I going to spend my money on? So for me, that's the way it was.
That's cool. So a lot of your cards, you're saying, even not just that set, but a lot of the cards that you collect now, they're kind of preserving those memories from your childhood.
Oh yeah, I have a lot of that stuff graded, and I'm getting graded more and more over the years. I got graded because it's just nice to have. I don't know. For me, it's that way. I like preserving the memory, and that for me, putting it under plastic in a holder, a slab, or whatever you want to call it. Subconsciously, to me, that's just the way I'm preserving it.
Cool. Well, I'm looking forward to seeing scans of those cards, because one thing you do is, after our episodes, you do a good job of like highlighting some of the cards that you've talked about on the episodes. So yeah, I'm enjoying that. Look forward to it. How about you, Nick? I mean, this is kind of an obvious question. We've really fleshed this out, but I mean, do you feel like, at least I've noticed you're doing more set collecting now than you were. Like, you were getting Yzermans and Fedorovs and some Red Wings. Now you're like, I want a set of this. And I don't know about you guys, but that sounds like somebody else he's talked about before.
You know what? Back and forth is totally my dad, because that's what he did. He was a huge set collector. And then obviously he was an Yzerman PC kind of guy. So it's really kind of mimicking it. As I don't really collect anything new, to be honest. Nothing newer than probably, I don't know, 03, 04, outside of like saying, an Yzerman Young Guns card that they made, or something like that, Yzerman or Mario or whatnot. But for the most part, like I said, there's certain stuffs like Ryan was saying that just brings you back, like that Summit Artist Proof set. I mean, that just I remember that as a kid just being like, the creme de la creme. I mean, it was just And so I do a little bit of back and forth, just trying to focus on those. And like Steve Eiserman, I was a kid born outside of Detroit, like I said, 1987. So I mean, he's a logical, easy choice for a PC guy even to this day for me, especially since he's still even with the organization.
Right.
But like you said, it definitely reflects from my dad. It was probably just from watching him all those years, and it just kind of got ingrained in me. He had a few sets that I had to finish from the 80s, but like you said, I definitely kind of absorbed that a little bit from him. I think he was a little more set based than I was, but I definitely try to knock a few off.
Right. That's awesome, dude. I mean, and the fact that you found that set for the price you did, I can't wait to see them all in like a video. That's going to be great. Are you paging them all up, by the way?
No. I'll put the big boys in some one touches. Then I'll put some of the other big guys in top loaders, and then the rest just probably in penny sleeves and in a box. I don't really like the folder things, little 9-page things personally. The binders. That's just my personal preference. I've never been a fan.
If Tebow doesn't make it into a top loader, I'm going to be disappointed in you. So. Anyways.
Spoiler alert, he probably won't.
Yeah, I know. Well, I will send you a one-touch to put him in. How about that, huh?
I promise you I'll use it on that.
Yeah, right, sure we will.
Well, I throw the Yager in it, or the Korea.
How about you, Cartel? I mean, you're really big on the grading as well. But how much, or is anything that you're collecting, bring you back to that childhood?
Yeah, I mean, in the early days, it was about opening packs, and then later on opening boxes, and putting away. For me, what I would do is I'd put away key players in a binder in a 9-pocket, and I'd put away a set. I would try to collect a set of each product that I was messing with. So there wasn't really a game plan beyond the 80s O-Pee-Chee sets. Once we started getting into the era where there were multiple sets, I would pick one or two that I really liked the look of, and then I would have to get the entire set. And if I pulled any inserts, I'd put them aside. But what happened was I got in on I was constantly surrounded because I went to a lot of shows when I was a kid, and I went to a lot of local stores. And I became, I just became another character in those stores where everyone was very close, and the atmosphere was very much like it was in 89, 90, which was investing. That was the first time that there was. This isn't the first time we're seeing the atmosphere we're in right now. I mean, back in 89, grown men were getting their hands on as much 89 Griffey Juniors as they could find.
Silverneck was making plenty.
Yeah,
they were doing the exact same thing people are doing right now. And I was a little kid surrounded by these adults that were of that mindset, and they saw that I was pretty smart about how I was dealing with my collecting. Next thing I know, I think I was only 16 or 17 when I sent out my first Beckett order, or it was SGC, because back then SGC was one of the more prominent graders. They were on a 0 to 100 scale. Yeah, and they were mostly for vintage, but I remember PSA, you had to have a membership, and it was really confusing. So I sent out an order to SGC because in my head I was like, okay, I have this Yager, I have this Bure, and all my friends do, but like who's got like the best one? Who's got one that's in like the best shape? So probably, I mean, for better or for worse, I got into that at a very young age. So the only thing I retain at this point from when I first started collecting as a kid is I do try to collect a set every year. I have a base upper deck set that I put together every year. They don't go into binders anymore. They go into boxes. Yeah. Because I do find a pleasure in putting a set together. But beyond that, it's just I probably way too early got into the concept of grading and investing, and that's kind of where I'm at right now. Right. But it's always nice. See, the great thing about the hobby is you've still got these cards that are now worth so much. But all my 80 sets, I can take them out, flip through them. They're beautiful. They bring back that nostalgia. They have value. And then I can just put them away, and they almost exist separately from everything else that I'm doing at this point.
Right. Interesting. Huh. That's cool. How about you, Vinny? I mean, all your Mario cards that I see posted certainly remind me of the cards we would have been collecting as kids, but do you feel like your collection is affected a lot by the nostalgia?
Yeah, definitely. So, Lemieux takes me back to a time where it was simpler. Everything was, you know, my grandfather was around, so I used to watch hockey with him, and my brothers and I used to watch it, and it was the height of the heyday was 90, 91, 91, 92 for the Pens. And even though like 92, 93 was probably their best team, they didn't go too far, but it was every time I leaf through those books, I have Lemieux in what 5 binders broken down by tops and OPGs in one, Pinnacle Parkhurst is in one, Upper Decks in one, and every week I take the time to bring one of them binders out and look through them to just. I like looking at my collection. I want it. I don't want it in a box. It's hard for me to put something away in a box that I don't get to go out and look at it.
Right.
So I like it right there. Like one day, my wife's just gonna say, "Why do you have 385 binders?" Because I put all my cards in the binders. I'm gonna be ultra.
I know where everyone is.
Yeah.
Yep, Ultra Pro's gonna love me over the next 4 or 5 years. Once I get everything in the sheets, I like to be able to say, I think I'm gonna look at artifacts from 2001 today and go find a binder and just say, "Hey, sit there with my kid and say, let me tell you a story about how I got this set, or remember when we put this together? Remember when we pulled this?" And that's the kind of stuff I want to be with her. That's the main thing to me. It's something that she and I can share, whether it's ripping Pokemon cards or the newest hockey, old hockey, baseball, football, whatever I could find. I like the experience now with her, so I can remember anytime I pull something, and then she can go back and tell her grandkids, "Hey, I was with my dad when I pulled this card. This is a 2021 whatever, and I remember when we pulled it. We lived in this house then."
Funny how that stuff all trickles in at that point. Yep. So everything starts flooding in based on one little card.
Yep.
Yeah, it is. You can almost name the time and place where you pulled it sometimes, right? But you can't remember much else from that time.
Nope.
What Vinny brought up brings up another question. I think that reflects to our childhood. I mean, I have plenty of memories of just sitting in my room on like a rainy weekend day, leafing through my cards and binders, or organizing them, or doing something with them. Sure, they weren't worth a whole lot back then because I didn't have a lot like I do now, but I used to love just looking at them. And so I am curious. I want to know from everybody, like, how often do you spend time just looking at your cards? Like I told you guys last weekend, I crawled into bed and then pulled my Tebow box out, set it on the bed, and just was looking through them ooh, this is gonna scan perfect, just looking at the cards like I used to. Do you guys still take the time to do that without thinking how much is this gonna sell for, how I should grade it, just forgetting all that? Do you guys spend time just looking at your cards and enjoying them? Simple. I mean, Ryan, what about you, dude? I mean, you've got a museum of cards in your house, so.
I don't look at all of them. I definitely don't do that because a lot of them are in boxes. I have so many binders, but yeah, it's fun because I lose stuff, and I almost have time capsules going on. I have boxes of stuff that I don't look at, and then all of a sudden I find it. I'm going through over the last year. I'm probably anybody in here right now can say that they've gone through their collection numerous times, going over and over because so many different trends have followed in this last year, right? So I'm going through geez, I got 9 of those, 91, 92 Upper Deck. I have so much of that stuff sitting at home, upstairs. It's unreal. So yeah, I go through them, but I like to let stuff fall by the side. I put stuff in cupboards upstairs in the room, and then I don't see them for a year or 2 or maybe 5. And it's always good to go back and look at them, see what I have. I have a lot of stuff just floating around.
Right.
Yeah, I'm kind of a loser. You guys can even kind of get a look of that I keep everything.
Yeah, classic. Oh man,
love it.
So yeah, every single day I'm basically kind of nerding out, looking at something at some point. But this is my little man cave, so yeah, I would say pretty much every day I'm ruffling through something, whatever it may be.
Right.
Yeah.
That's cool, man. What about you, Cartel? You spent some time just looking through the cards, appreciating them, like your Parkhurst that you just opened up?
Yeah, that's an interesting opening.
Yeah. Well, first of all, what else is there to do in the province of Ontario right now?
Yeah.
I've never done this much, like digging into nooks and crannies. I haven't. I mean, I myself did a little bit of moving around in the last couple of years, and you end up putting stuff away. Now that I have time, it's like Ryan said. You're like, holy shit! I've got 10 of these. I got 9 of these.
Yeah.
And as far as so last night, I mean, it got to that point. So I've been waiting. So not to take things away from hockey, but I've been waiting for my Series 1 Topps baseball to show up.
Oh God, here we go.
And of course, Canada Post failed me this past week. So I'm sitting around, I'm watching the UFC last night. I'm like, look, I got to crack something. I was strategic about it.
Strategic.
I already have a couple sets of 91, 92 Parkers. But I thought to myself, okay, what is a Series 2 box going for? And I looked it up. It's not going for much at all. But I know that the Hashik is in demand right now. So
That's interesting.
If you give me a second here, actually, because I didn't know what to do with this information. I didn't think it warranted necessarily like a full Instagram post, but
Hey, information's golden.
since I'm the only one who opened a box of 91, 92 Parkers last night, I wanted to show you. So first of all, do you guys remember? So these were really cool, kind of throwback design. This was
The solids. I like those a lot.
the league leaders.
Yeah.
And so those are really cool. Did
They
you
have
know that this set contains the only card of this gentleman ever made, because he only played in one game in the NHL?
Uh-oh.
And if you're a goalie guy, you're going to need this card. I'm going to be sending them out to PSA. You can send me a check or money order for $250 US.
All right, I got you.
Ray LeBlanc.
I've heard of that name
Ray
when I was
LeBlanc.
a kid. Ray LeBlanc.
I've never actually seen that card before.
Check out the awesome helmet.
Yeah,
the
the mask
USA
is sweet.
Yeah.
The USA helmet.
Wow.
So yeah,
wow. Go ahead, Cartel.
apparently they went on a nice run the previous year in the Olympics, and they almost made it to the medal round. And he ended up, for some reason, he played one game for the Blackhawks, and he got a card in Parkhurst.
Wow.
So guys, like this was, I mean, you want to talk about nostalgia, opening this up. The Joey Juno was a big deal back in the day.
Oh yeah, Joey Juno, right.
And you know who they advertised on the box as far as to entice you, as far as rookie cards went? It was Juno, and it was Igor Kravchuk.
Oh God.
Oh yeah, that's
So-
Classic.
But man, like plenty of good stuff in here. They made multiple Gretzky and Lemieux cards because they had all these different subsets.
How does
for
Nick
league
do
leaders.
that, man? I feel
Bam!
like the dude, he just like has everything right there. It's amazing.
So Lidstrom was the first.
I love the
Lidstrom-
jersey.
It was first series, right?
Yeah, he was the first series, but
Right.
his league leader was in the
it's the
second
coolest
series.
card.
Yeah, there you
That's
go.
awesome, dude.
Yeah. Now they had, was it the year before or the year after, they had the yellow backs from Parker's? Like they had the yellow background. Was that? I can't
Well, this
remember what
was-
that was.
This
What's
was the first. This was the first Parker. So you might be thinking
Right,
of
92, 93, right?
92, 93.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, it is. Okay. Now I bet you're going to have to go get a box of it.
But yeah, just to finish answering that question, man, there's not a time when I'm not reorganizing, or I'm OCD about spreadsheets. Like the other day, I was going through some slabs.
Nice.
I mean, I always make it so that there's work to be done in the card section of my life. So yeah.
Nice.
That's awesome, dude. Yeah, I think that's why I'm so excited about this whole scanning my collection and endeavor, because Ryan brought up a really cool point that I think would be fun to do. We all talked about how you look at a card and like all these stories come forward, right? We all have that happen. Just like the John Casey North Stars card. But Ryan talked about, you talked about Ryan like making a book, right? Where
I've done a
cards-
photography book before.
Yeah.
I've done two actually. Yeah.
Right. And making something like that to where I can make it, I bring it to like my dad, for instance, and he opens up, he's like, oh, son, I remember that card right there. And I remember buying this for you at this card shop. Like, but then be able to hand somebody that book who, like Nick knows what I'm talking about here, family members who don't collect, and somebody shows up and you hand them this book and they're looking through like, wow, you know, like the design on this card is really cool. Can you tell me more about it? Oh, wait, it talks about it right underneath the card. Like those kind of things, something like that sounds like so much fun, and so I'm really excited to kind of go this little endeavor of. I mean, obviously scanning them in is going to be a lot of work, but I'm really excited. Can we see, Ryan?
Yeah, these are cheap, man. I made this out of New York. This is a full-on hardcover book, proper. Like if you look at this is all high gloss paper.
Wow.
Like very, very thick. This is what I'm doing next. Is I'm gonna actually make a full-on hockey card book out of it for my 91 premiere. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So these things are like so cheap to make, and you have the full layout, design, everything, how you place everything, what you put in it. So it's amazing. It's all you.
You know, Ryan, would you mind when you throw up a post today, maybe posting a link or to where all of us can maybe find that? Because I think beyond us, I know that I'm interested in doing that. I'm sure some of you would also be interested in doing something. I think it would be really cool to it's a coffee table book, right? Yeah, exactly. But so Vinny, nice way to get a conversation going there. I mean, do you typically do that with C? You know, you just pull out a book and you start looking through the cards like, hey, let me tell you where I pulled this card and what it means to me, that type of stuff.
Yeah, my binders and stuff, and like I have my kid cards, as I call them, separated from everything. So I'm like, I was with your uncles and we were doing this, and that's where I pulled this. You know, I gave her, remember those 9 pockets with the leather covers, the precursors to the Z folios? I found one for football, and she likes the Texans. So I started a book. I gave her the football book I had, and she's starting to put all her Texans in there and her Steelers and stuff. So, you know, whatever she wants to do, I'm game for it. And we got a bunch of Pokemon stuff for Christmas, and she got some hockey cards and baseball here and there. And she's itching to open baseball, she said. So,
yeah, everybody's itching to open baseball, I think. I'm sorry, I hate to change the topic, but yeah, baseball's that time of year.
I'm fighting it, dude. I'm fighting it because, like, the first glass now is from Series 1. He didn't make Series 1, but he's got an autograph, and I've been seeing him. I'm like, don't
2.5 feet of snow here, and I'm waiting for it to melt. It's killing me. Every year it happens.
I'm holding on for another month. Like, when I go visit my dad for spring break, we're gonna open some hockey cards on camera. I'm gonna do all that. I think when I come back from spring break, I got to quarantine for a week, and the baseball bug is they're going to be playing spring training. It's going to hit me, and it'll be full on glass now and baseball from that point on. Not full on, but kind of half and half. So well, to kind of wrap it up for today, guys. I mean, let's touch a little bit on. I mean, we haven't really talked about a lot of modern hockey, but anybody got any thoughts on how the season's going? I mean, I'll just start off with something I brought up before the podcast started. There were rumors, and Vinny knows where I'm going with this. There were some rumors of us trying to trade for a goalie to come back, and our new GM, Ron Hextall, has been trying to make it happen, and I think that if it does, it would be just amazing, because that's probably the one area that team is lacking right now, other than defense, is a really solid goaltender, which is sad for me to say because I've got some really nice Tristan Jarry cards, but oh well. So for me, I think Marc-Andre Fleury's play has really surprised me. I mean, I know his team is great, but just I think in general, like the Blackhawks, man, that might be the most surprising team. The Blackhawks and Kevin Lankinen, I mean, I've really been impressed with them. Like, I think they're way better than people expected. So that's been my biggest surprise. I mean, how are you guys feeling about that Canadian division? You still liking your Maple Leafs chances?
You know what? The regular season is regular season, in all honesty, doesn't mean a lot. It doesn't. You make it into the playoffs, that's the business season, right? Even, like, look at the Kings when they won their first cup. They got in as the 8th seed. They won the cup. So, really, the regular season is just like a placing of where, you know, it's just standings-wise, no big deal, right? It's when you get down to the business season, right? The Leafs, we'll wait and see. And Galchenyuk's on the move again. Where did he go? Anybody track that trade?
He's coming to the Canes, dude.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, he's on his 16 now. Yeah. You know, he's the ultimate journeyman. Like, I'm going to start tracking him now because I'm going to see if I can get a card of him in every team he's played for, because, you know, he's had some pretty short stints. He was in Pittsburgh, too. Was he not, for half a season or a season, maybe?
Yep.
So they'll make the Galchenyuk years like they did the Yager years.
Yeah. It's, man, this dude is bouncing. So, interesting.
I mean, even though it's not, it doesn't really matter, Ryan. Like your Maple Leafs still have to keep this good rhythm going, but I think it's been good for that Canadian division because the Canadians and the Leafs, they're playing well and their teams are.
But when the other teams aren't that strong, what does that say about your team? You know what I mean?
Not yet. I mean, how many times have we seen second half teams just get on a run, and sneak into the playoffs? So you don't want to be that fourth seed in that Canadian division or any division, get bumped out because you start playing like crap at the end.
Yeah, we'll see. We'll see.
What about you, Cartel? How are you liking your team so far?
I don't know if Ryan ever catches the stories I post up every time the Leafs win. I just post this picture of Al Bundy.
I saw
with the scared look on his face, and then the creepy music.
That's it.
Something's gonna happen. Austin Matthews is gonna blow out his knee, but
knock on wood.
I think. Look, I think they look really good, man. I mean, they dropped the ball the other day, but I think they look really good. I'll tell you what I love about the season so far, other than the fact that all the teams that I like, the Panthers, the Blues, the Leafs, are doing really well. I think it's great for the season, for the league. This season we've got Connor on top in points, Austin on top in goals. I think that's good for the league. You want those like marquee players to be performing. There's probably a few more eyes on hockey. There's more hockey. There's more card investor eyes on hockey, and you're seeing it. You're seeing it with the big prices we discussed earlier on some Maple Leafs. I mean, some Connor McDavid Future Watch autographs finally sold in Gem Mint. I don't know if you guys saw that.
No.
They are okay. So a PSA was close to 20,000. A BGS 9.5 was about 10,000. Those are off and running, and I think that's great for the whole hockey market, for the whole hockey season. Hashtag invest. There you go.
I had to, man. And I couldn't help it.
But I feel super spoiled this year. All the teams that I'm into on any level are playing really well.
Yeah.
And I'm on top of my fantasy league. I'm loving the season so far.
Well, also too, it's building some really good rivalries too. Sorry to cut anybody off, but it's building some really fun rivalries because you're playing each team's playing each other 7 times almost or something.
I think the Canadian team's 9 times.
Yeah, so we're gonna have some really. You're going to have that bad blood, hopefully. Get that blood boiling when they come to play sometime this year, Dude,
especially toward the end of the year when it gets to be this team's battling for that last playoff spot.
Yeah.
There's going to be some intense
Maybe
games.
some 90s hockey in there,
Yeah, man. How about you, Nick? I mean, I know we've talked about the Red Wings, and they're rebuilding. I mean, are you liking how they're still battling? I have some good games.
Oh, yeah. No, I mean, you know what you're getting into with them. They got a long road ahead of them. I'm just enjoying hockey, just enjoying sports, enjoying a little bit of normalcy in life. So at this point, I'm not gonna complain much. I love seeing the kids play. So for that aspect, I know they're a few years away. But like Ryan was saying earlier, the playoffs is just a completely different monster to everybody and everything else. Especially as a Wings fan, I can't tell you how many times they won the President's Trophy and flamed out. Happened way too often.
Curse of the President's Trophy.
Yeah. I mean, flamed out way too often. So like you said, it's a completely different monster when you get there. And like you said, I'm just still enjoying the Canadian division as just a hockey fan. That's just, I don't care who you are if you like hockey. That is just great A quality stuff. But yeah, just like you said, just enjoying a little bit of normalcy still and just enjoying the ride here.
Yeah. What about you, Vinny? I mean, our Pens are hanging on. It seems like they're kind of hanging in that 3-4 seed, and
they're winning right now.
Yeah, they're 4-3 in the second. Jari's given up his 3 to 4 goals per game. Nice job, Tristan. What do you think, though? I mean, do you think the Pens will try to make that trade for Fleury, or do you think they're gonna just kind of deal with?
Depends on what they want. I'm.
Yeah. What's going back the other way is a big question. Exactly.
Letang can go.
Talk about the defenseman.
I think Malkin needs to wake up, and I think he's playing hurt and he's not saying anything. I think something happened, and that's where he is. But I've heard other rumors that they might want to move Sid. I was like, that's insanity. In Pittsburgh radio, apparently my dad heard it a couple times last week. He's like, they're talking about moving Sid. I said, that's insane.
Well, never say never. They moved Gretzky, right?
Yeah.
declining asset.
But
Sorry,
I couldn't.
appreciating asset.
I couldn't see Lemieux moving Sid.
But Malkin, I could see. You know, I mean, yeah, trading Malkin and getting a goaltender might not make sense, but if they traded, you know, got Fleury and somebody else that was playing at the same level as Malkin, then, you know, because in my mind, just from watching it, he is a declining asset. He's slower. He's just like, you watch him. He had that 3-on-none a couple weeks ago in an overtime game, and he just it was like,
what is he, 34, 35 now?
Yeah, I mean, so it'd be interesting to see.
Right?
They just need to trade him to the Cap so he can play with Ovi in his last couple years, and it'll be ridiculous.
The only guy who gets better with age is Brady. We all know that. The only guy who seems to get better as they get older.
Yeah, that's a whole. Yeah, that's ridiculous.
I
don't want
that dude.
Not even open that can. I still do not understand that.
Yeah.
But I mean, hockey has had a few guys like that. You know, I'm not at that level necessarily, but hockey's had a few guys that have played.
Chelios.
Yeah, oh gosh, Chelios, Yager, Gordon Howe
it's
played
like we were saying
earlier.
Uncle Vinny was asking about whether Yager's going to be eligible for the Hall of Fame. I don't even think he's ready because he's still playing professional hockey, right?
Yeah, he's still playing in the Czech Republic.
Yeah, so his time still hasn't even started yet or whatnot. Because I know Datsuk's the same situation because I've been keeping my eye on the 02 team to see how many Hall of Famers they would have. Datsuk we're still going to have to wait on too. Same thing.
They have a lot from that year for sure, man.
They already got 9 or 10, I think, already.
Datsuk was.
He should get in. We'll see. Should get it.
He will. No, he will for sure.
His accolades really aren't his his all-star appearances and stuff really isn't as high as you'd think, but he should get in. We'll see. Story for a topic for another day.
Yeah. Which players aren't in the Hall of Fame that deserve besides Datsuk and Tebow? Yeah.
Darren Fleury. Yeah.
Datsuk, Yager, Tebow.
I think before we go here, we can kind of whet the appetite of our viewers and future viewers in that, not next week, but the week after, we've got a really fun episode planned that I kind of came up with the idea watching NBA on TNT do this a few years ago, and I thought, man, how much fun would it be to do like a fantasy draft where, you know, I can just host and let everybody else draft their teams, and I think, you know, it'll just be really cool to see which players get picked because people are going to have to do their research, you know, as much as y'all do with the market, and just do your research on, you know, players. I was kind of thinking like players at their peak in the 90s, right? So like you don't want to draft, you know, like Gordie. Did Gordie Howe play in 1990? I can't remember.
He actually played in 97 with the Vipers, but not in the NHL.
So,
technically.
But you wouldn't want to draft like a Lanny McDonald because him in the 90s was not prime Lanny McDonald. He's 80s player, you know. So it'd be kind of interesting to see, you know, A, what everybody comes up with, and B,
or like guys like Joe Thornton too, and Iginla.
Yep, exactly. Like, and then what if we can find a way? Ryan and I were talking about simulating or like trying to get all these players on a team in some sort of NHL sim and seeing who comes out on top. You know, this
will be an interesting one.
Yeah, so that's coming up in a couple weeks. We're going to have everybody for that. I've already told Dollar to make sure he's here to get permission from the wife. Miles, Jimmy, not sure what Jimmy's doing Valentine's Day stuff today, so everybody will be here for that. So we're really excited. But yeah, guys, thanks for showing up. And it was fun. It was fun talking about nostalgia, man. I mean, I think we can all agree that's what collecting's all about for me. That's what brings the most joy out of me when I reflect upon, you know, the 91, 92 Parkers, dude. My dad used to bring me loads of that stuff. And that
I'm going to hunt the box down now, Banks Cartel.
Yeah, that's a good call. I haven't seen or thought of that in so long. So
yeah.
Hey, how about we leave things on a bummer note that the kids are not going to be able to experience what we did now when we were growing up with the way things are going, unfortunately.
Yeah.
No, you're right. Because like I said, you can get that stuff cheap.
Maybe it's something we can consider as the older guard. There's this great, oh man, I don't know the name of the page on Instagram, but there's this card store owner who keeps giving free stuff to kids and they film it.
That's awesome.
The last time a kid came in, he picked up like one of every box. He gave him a 1920 Series 1 box. The kid was like blown away. It's so much tougher now, man. I mean, we take it for granted back in the day. We had the accessibility, the affordableness.
Yeah.
What's happening now?
Yeah. Like I said, mid-90s, man, you had options. You could go for cheap stuff or you could go for some high-end stuff. And like I said, they don't really have those options right now.
No, exactly.
There's not. I mean, but people
True.
like Vinny, you know, who has a daughter there that can, you know, expose her to some of those cards and kind of give her some of those memories in a sense, and maybe save a few packs to open up. I mean, I get so excited when I see kids being involved in the hobby, because it's definitely a lost on a lot of people. And I think we'll all be mindful of it if we can have a chance. Actually, when I was teaching, I would give cards away as prizes, like even just base cards. But kids are like, I have no idea who these guys are, but this is cool.
Yeah,
you know? So
right.
It's different. Yep.
Yeah.
it was fun to sit down, like, let me tell you about Ken Griffey Jr. and Alex Rodriguez and Mario Lemieux. Like, you know, they have no clue.
Yeah.
But,
Back in the day.
yeah, I can't believe we're saying that. I can't believe we're saying that, but. Great. Well, hey, awesome to have you guys on here. Vinny, thanks for popping in, even though you were building an air hockey table.
Nice.
Try not to get whooped by your wife too much on there. And I'm sure if you do, you're not going to tell us, right?
Looks like it's already happened a few times. Let's say he doesn't look like he's too happy right now. He got worked a few times already.
Well, we got her a. Remember in the old Pizza Huts, they used to have the Pac-Man tables?
Oh, yeah.
So my oldest two daughters and I got together and we bought that for the wife.
Nice.
And we put that together too today. So
like the tabletop clear Pac-Man?
Yeah.
Really?
Is it a vintage or one of the new ones they're selling?
One of the one-ups.
Oh, really? That's cool.
Arcade.
I remember those. I remember those in Pizza Hut too. I do remember those.
And my wife has the pattern. She has the pattern down. I'm like,
she's got that wrist game.
She's got, I mean, dang.
Damn, I'm going to have to go find stuff now to buy. 91, 92 Parkhurst and a table.
Look what you've done, Cartel.
Yeah.
The 91, 92 Parkhurst is buried somewhere in here. I have no idea where it is, but I know I have.
I'm going to find a box right now, so yeah.
Grab it.
How much of that stuff is buried in people's closets that we don't even know about?
Yeah. If anybody's watching, make sure you put the price of that box up to like $100 because Ryan will probably go pay that. Anyways, cool. Well, hey, have a great weekend. We'll be back next weekend, same time. We're not going to tell you the topic because we don't know what it's going to be yet. But it will probably we'll come back to grading at some point.
Grading
always does.
It's like it's inevitable. But we look forward to seeing everybody. Thanks for making it here, Paul. Dr. Exclusive was here. Indigenous Rookie Cards, great page on Instagram.
Bobby was in.
Mr. Gesh, I saw.
Yeah.
Saw Al, Mr. Gesh
Dave
in
was
there too.
Dave was here.
Yeah, some guy named Bobby Burrows. No idea who that is.
Bobby's. Oh, you know who Bobby is?
That's my dad. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, I thought it was the other Bobby Burrows from Carlos's show. My bad.
No, there's a guy named Bobby. Oh, I think it's Bobby Burrell on there.
Oh, Bobby Burrell. Okay, wow.
Yeah,
I got that completely mixed up.
Yeah, but nice to have everybody here, and we'll see you next weekend. Have a good one, guys.
Peace.